Hello, my name is James, and this video is called How First Past the Post Has Enabled Brexit. And it'll be split into two main topics. First of all, talking about what First Past the Post is, and second of all, how it has enabled Brexit. And this video won't be edited at all. It will be just me kind of just rambling with ums and ahs. So if you don't like that sort of thing, I'm sure you don't have to watch. But if you like the three friends that I've sent this to, now that you've said that you would watch it, you basically have to now. So even if there's a few seconds of silence as I'm thinking, you're forced into watching this now. So I'm sorry. Anyway, let's continue with the video. Part 1. What is first past the post? Well, the United Kingdom is split into 650 constituencies, and each constituency represents an average amount of people, but that depends which area of the UK you're in. So, for example, in England, it's around an average of 72,200 people per constituency. Scotland averages of around 67,200 people. Northern Ireland, its constituency represents around 68,300 people, and Wales, it's I think 56,000. So during a general election, first past the post gives you one vote. You have one vote, and you go to your local polling station or wherever in your constituency, and you give that vote to who you want to represent your constituency. And obviously you give it to a person, but that person generally is a member of a political party who will have a set of beliefs in line with the political party that they're with. So I'm not going to get into political parties right now. So whoever gets the most votes in that constituency gets to represent that constituency, that area, in Parliament as a member of Parliament, MP. So yeah. The map that I have on screen is sadly quite a blurry one. It's of the 2019 general election results. It's quite hard to get a transparent image of that general election. I don't know why, but I couldn't be bothered to get a not transparent one and it's just being white on a black background. And yeah, there we go. Just to make it a little nicer, here is a really nicer map of the 2019 results as a cartogram map, as if the hexagons were of the same size. As you can see, London, for example, is blown up quite a bit in the bottom right, and it's surrounded in black just to show how many seats there are in London in comparison to how many are around it, just to show the population density of London. It's quite crazy. Well, so imagine it's voting time, and you in this hypothetical voting time votes for a pink party, and this is the votes that the pink party got in your constituency where you live in imaginary land, and they got 37% of the vote. And I'm just showing you 50% because when you think of majority, you think of more than 50%, 51%. It's a majority of the people that voted. But in first past the post, how it works is that whoever got a majority in the constituency just straight up wins. But that isn't 50%, 50 plus 1. It's no matter the majority. So with that in mind, that with no matter the majority, you can win a constituency. Let's look at the hypotheticals of outcomes of this constituency that you live in. The bars are by no means to scale, by the way, ridiculously not. So, looking at the constituency that we're in, there have been 4 political parties that have had votes casted for them. In your constituency, a lot more generally than 4, unless you're living in maybe Northern Ireland. Parties are represented here in the vote, but Grey, despite only having 39% of the people's vote in that constituency, wins the constituency. As we said, even a small majority is still a majority, and it has a majority of 2% over pink. 2% more people voted for Grey than it did for pink. So this means that despite only being 39% of the constituency the person that represents this seat gets 100, like these 39% gets 100% of the representation in Parliament, right? These other people, everyone else, don't get the same representation in Parliament as the grey vote does, okay? And more people in that constituency are into a different type of politics than even if you add up everyone else in that constituency being into that type of politics, even if you group them up. 50 in this hypothetical scenario where the bars aren't to scale, and I've made up the numbers just to prove a point because that's how YouTube videos work, right? More people are into this brighter politics, 55% in fact. However, even though the majority of people in this constituency are into this different politics, they won't get any representation. These people will not have their opinions represented and challenged for on the floor of Parliament, in the House of Commons. It just won't happen, So disenfranchisement it's very real, and it can affect any constituency. Like literally any, unless that constituency is 100% for one candidate, one party, then there's still votes that are still not being represented, they're not being heard, they're not being challenged for. And here I come into nearly an 80-20 split. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a big pie, big old red pie with a little bit of color in it. This is Liverpool Walton in 2019 general election statistics. 84.7% went of the vote went to Labour. So as you can see, a rather a large majority of its constituents, they have values that correlate with the Labour Party, and they want a Labour member to represent them in Parliament. It seems reasonable to me. But so, as we mentioned before, majority is calculated by using. I mentioned earlier, like they had a 2% majority. One was 39, one was 37. So this constituency had a majority of 74.83%. Okay, and how the winners' majority is calculated quickly, because obviously 39, 37, quite easy. But how do you do bigger numbers? The winners' majority is it's just the difference between the votes they receive and the votes for the next most popular candidate. So if you take the Labour votes, which was 34,583, and subtract the Conservative votes, with the Conservative votes being and the Conservative Party being the second biggest party, which is 4,018, you come to 30,520, or a majority of 74.83%. So, this still means, however, that the reason that even with the high majority of Labour voters within Liverpool Walton, 15.3% of the people in this constituency they're not being represented in Parliament. Do you think a Labour member of Parliament is thinking from the point of view or thinking with the heart of the conservative constituents? It's like, no, they're not pushing the policy that this. What's the Conservative? I think the Conservative percent is like 9.9. I think, if I remember correctly. It's not how it works. They still deserve to be represented in Parliament. And I know some people might watch this and they may be a Conservative and they'd be like, well, screw the Tories. They might be a Conservative, they might be a Labour supporter and they're like, screw the Tories. But they might be a Conservative voter and they're like, screw the Labour boys. But people's votes are just as equal. So in this constituency alone, first past the post ignores far too many people. 6,248 people. Their constituency and their voice in that constituency is not being represented in the Commons. It just isn't happening. And even if you think about it, this is you know, and some constituencies are far more severe than others. This is a very nice constituency. An overwhelming majority, over 74% of this constituency, an overwhelming majority, believe in the Labour Party and want the Labour Party to support them. But still, it's a lot of people that just aren't getting that representation. And the reason that I showed you Liverpool Walton is because in the 2019 general election, it had the largest majority out of all of the 650 constituencies, and it's known as what is a safe seat. I did briefly talk about this. And I would just describe what a safe seat is. To quote the, I sound like a big nerd here, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I guess I am already a nerd for even doing this video, I suppose. To quote the Electoral Reform Society discussing safe seats, another recurring feature of first past the post that was again in evidence at the election was the number of safe seats, where parties are almost certain to win. Before the election, the Electoral Reform Society predicted the outcome of 316 seats, half of all seats in Great Britain. These predictions had 100% success rate. Again, 2019 results, by the way. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? The certainty of safe seats can breed complacency among parties and lead to voters being taken for granted, with safe seats ignored during election campaigns, while seats that may change hands are lavished with attention. So the people that live in these safe seats, their voices are not being heard, they're not being listened to, they're just taken for granted, right? For example, and that was the safest seat in 2019. Do you think that the Labour Party, they put their hand to their chin and they really sat down and they were like, they gave it a really strong thing, what can we do to really with this seat here, this constituency, this area of the United Kingdom that is equally as important as every other area, every vote is equally as important as every other vote. They're like, what can we do to really get these Conservative votes, to really, really make ourselves, better off in this constituency? No, it's just simply not happening. They don't care about these constituencies. Now there are examples of where first past the post can, they can breed this type of introspection in parties where with more environmental consciousness among the middle class, for example, in say the build up to the 2010 general election, and the fear that the Green Party would maybe steal Conservative votes away from the Conservatives and hand Labour votes, cause for example the Conservatives to adopt more green policies in order to scrap them votes. But if you're in one of these safe seats, you're not being represented. Nobody cares about you, and nobody will care about you. It's just sad. In England alone, right? In England alone, they correctly predicted the outcome of 300 seats, 56% of the total seats, covering 22 million voters, right? 56% of the total seats. Nobody, the fact that they're so predictable, that these constituencies are so safe, will breed just absolute complacency. The parties are not going to listen to people. Just think about, in all of these constituencies, how many people won't be represented. It's not correct. And obviously, obviously all these seats aren't getting the representation from their MP that they deserve. There are good MPs who just there are really good MPs that just they do from the bottom of the heart. They say I I can't name it off the top of my head because I'm stupidly doing a YouTube video where I just rant at a bloody screen. But like I've seen, like, for example, like Conservative MPs like just like big F you to whoever's in charge and just be like, this doesn't work for my constituency, I'm not helping you, you know. That's what's good, that's what you want. But when MPs toe the party line, they're not going to be helping the people in their constituency. They're not going to be helping all of them. It's just a product of the system, the first past the post system. Some people's voices just won't be heard. They won't be represented, and that's just sad. It just seems so sad to me. Yeah. So as I've only really shown you one real life example of a constituency, I thought I'd just throw you another, just a quick one. This one's with a really small majority. The previous one I showed you had like a massive majority. 74% is ridiculous. This is Fermanagh and South Tyrone. It had these are the votes. As you may be able to see by the votes, it had a tiny majority, a 0.11% majority. 57 votes. The 57 votes put Sinn Féin in the lead and gave them constituency over the other 56.7% of the constituency. Like, I basically just put this in the video just because the fact that 57 votes, the fact that 57 votes is the difference between your constituency getting represented in Parliament and your constituency not getting, and your vote, your thoughts, your ideas not getting represented in Parliament is just ridiculous. And in this example, it's even more hilarious because if you don't know, Sinn Féin is like massively Republican, and they the Queen it's not their Queen, so, and in order to be an MP you have to like swear loyalty to the Queen in order to get into the Commons and whatnot, blah blah blah, blah. And basically Sinn Féin just don't do that. They don't do that. So basically this constituency gets 0% of the representation in Parliament because they voted for because of 57 votes that gave them Sinn Féin as their majority. So I just found it hilarious. You might not find it hilarious. You can skip ahead. It's my video, And if you're not in a safe seat, please just research your seats. If you're not in a safe seat, I just beg you, just please just look up your seats. Just find out if you're in a safe seat or not. I think it would just really help you, And if you just go out there and vote, just go vote. Please go and vote. Even if you are in a safe seat, you should go out and vote because as I said, like if you are in a seat that is safe, and maybe a lot of people turn it not safe, then maybe the big pies, Conservative, Labour, they'll come down and they'll really put their hand to the chin. They'll really think, really give it a big thunk, and they'll really go, what can we do to steal your votes? And they can come down just try and like pick you up, really get you. But anyway. And just another thing, just the smallest winning percentage vote constituency in 2019 was South Down, with Sinn Féin yet again, by the way, winning and getting the majority in the constituency with a 32.4% of the vote. Less than a third of the people in that constituency voted for Sinn Féin in South Down in 2019, and they got 100% of the representation in that constituency, and because they voted Sinn Féin, which I pass no political judgment on, they get 0% of the actual representation in the Parliament. It's just kind of funny, So yeah, God, it's just this political system. It's just. It does not represent the people's votes. It does not represent the people's votes. And, your people will go, well, James, it's not really meant to represent the people's votes. First past the post is meant to, you're meant to vote for your constituent, who is then meant to go and vote, and then they're meant to go fight for you in Parliament. They're meant to represent you, so they are meant to represent you, so you can go and do your work. You can do whatever you want, and they do it for you. They act in politics for you. It's just ridiculous. I hate that argument. I don't want some, whether you're Labour or Conservative or anything else, you don't want somebody else champion your voice when they don't, quote unquote, champion your voice. Well, supposedly they're championing your voice, even if they don't agree with you politically in any capacity. It's just not going to happen, is it? So there are alternatives that allow for more proportional representation in Parliament, and I personally like the single transferable vote more. But additional member system, such as they have additional members in New Zealand, is just a far better system than first past the post. It's just way better. But I like single transferable vote, but we're not getting into other electoral systems here, because then this video will be even longer than it needs to be, and it already is far too long because it's just me rambling at the screen. Nothing makes sense. If you want to look up these systems and find out, maybe why I like them or what they're about, just that link, big yellow link, can't miss it. Just click, whack it in to your, google.com. Other search engines are available, and have fun. Have fun. If you look at these single transferable vote and additional member system, and you say, you know what, James, I actually still prefer first past the post, for X reasons, then that's good for you. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But I believe that something it needs to change, and I think first past the post, it's just gotta go. It's just gotta go. And here it is, part 2. How first past the post has enabled Brexit. And let's just go into it, okay? My God. So begin to talk about how first past the post has enabled Brexit. We have to kind of, we gotta go back. We gotta go back. It's back to the introduction of one person, one particular person, to the just absolute front line of British political discussion, British politics. It's David Cameron. It's if you didn't guess it was going to be David Cameron. By that, I can only assume that you don't care about politics at all. You're not not only you don't care, because obviously you're watching this video because you're probably just a friend of mine that I forced to watch. But you that informed without sounding rude. I don't know if saying someone's uninformed is rude, but whatever. So the things that I'll be talking about David Cameron range from around 2010 / 2009 to 2016. So if you didn't know, David Cameron is he's a conservative. He's a member of the Conservative Party, and he's a Conservative Party leader. He was the leader of the Conservative Party. And you may think, oh man, he's a conservative, and I can hear whispers among the crowd, of Labour voters. They're like, oh god, that guy's a conservative. Like, oh shit, man, maybe we should punch him. Whatever. That was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. But he is in fact not some out of touch old conservative. He is in fact hip. He is in fact cool, and he's really really young. Spoilers alert for 2010. He becomes the Britain's youngest prime minister in 200 years when he took the role in 2010 of prime minister. So yeah. And in order to have become prime minister in 2010, and spoilers later on in another general election, he's going to have to do lots of things to gain votes. And one of these things that I did discuss a little bit earlier was grabbing votes from the increasing environmentally conscious middle-class voters. And these people are more likely to gravitate towards the Green Party or Liberal Democrats, who had previously already adopted this policy of greenness, of environmental friendliness quite a bit earlier than the Conservative Party did. Obviously the Green Party is it's the Green Party. Of course it adopted these things earlier than the Conservative Party did. My God, so to do this, how is he going to do this? He's a conservative. He's going to have a really nice and catchy slogan: "Vote blue, go green." Vote blue, go green. It's a cool slogan. Come on, the Labour leaders. Every Labour leader and Labour supporter, they're crying. He's got the cool slogan. Okay, he's going to promise to increase rewards and payment. Like, simplify it. This is simplifying it. He's going to promise to increase rewards to early adopters of solar panels. And if you don't know me, I think solar panels like sick ass. So that's sick. However, they did U-turn on this. So conservatives, am I right? I put them whatever. And finally, before getting into his 2010 coalition government, he promised to cut carbon emissions by 10% in the first 12 months. That's pretty wizard, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot more as well, but these are just nice, cool things I thought I'd introduce in this. I talk about in this video. So that all sounds great, but there are other votes that you've got to go through. You've got to get all these pesky middle class liberals who aren't voting conservative. Like, they're middle class, they're not voting conservative. They're voting liberal Democrat. Like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do something quite radical, So we're gonna campaign on a policy of gay rights. Pretty much, it pretty much was gay rights, sort of, and with that in mind, in the 2010 coalition government, with Nick Clegg as Deputy Prime Minister, leader of the Liberal Democrat Party, he passed the Same-Sex Couples Act, or the Marriage Act 2013, which allowed for equal marriage. Which, unless you're pretty weird, and I don't know why you'd be watching it, that's pretty sick. That's pretty cool. That's why he's not some lame old conservative voter. He's cool. Conservative leader. He's cool. He's a cool dude. Look at them sunglasses I've greatly put on. He's cool. And next, we've got something else. So with all these topics have been smashed. It's got the Green vote, it's got the Liberal vote, but one topic grew ever larger. That topic being Europe. Yeah, Europe. It actually come up a lot in it comes up every so often in British discussion. I think it was like the mid-70s. There was a referendum for like leaving, or what the equivalent of them being the European Union was, and it was voted for no. And we often just talk about Europe because obviously we're in Europe and it's a big discussion. And what should we do? And so, but this was the time when the Eurosceptics were really kicking up a fuss. It was really getting big. It was a huge discussion. So he was going to have to appeal to the Eurosceptic conservative voter, or even just the Eurosceptic regular human being, because it turns out you have to appeal to people that are outside your range as well. Any human beings you have to appeal to as a political leader. So he promised to, if he gets re-elected in 2015, to have a referendum on whether or not the UK should remain a member of the European Union. Despite wanting to stay in the European Union himself, he's an ardent supporter of the European Union, he promised in his 2015 election manifesto to have a referendum on whether we should remain a member. And this was because he literally absolutely he fervently believed that we were going to win. He wouldn't have called it if we didn't think we were going to, I say we were going to win. The side that is for Remain, David Cameron, David Cameron saying we are going to win, we the Remain side are going to win. And he was, so confident in this, he'd go on these talk show hosts, and he's such a young and hip conservative leader. He'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to resign if I lose, because, I don't even think we're going to lose as well, but even if we were to lose, in the hypothetical, obvious hypothetical, if we were to leave the European Union, I won't resign. This was the results in 2016. We voted to leave the European Union. So and obviously it's a great picture I have of him crying. I'm glad you like it. I know you've already looked at it. I'm glad you like it. So he went like a proper conservative leader, like a proper Eton educated individual. He addressed the nation to speak about how we would go forward. No, he resigned. He resigned. So he resigned, and the party would now have to elect someone else to be their leader, who would have to strong arm Brexit through Parliament and would lead the entire nation through this very rough time. So, who will the Conservative Party put forward to push through the Brexit idea? Who will they give us to lead through this transition? It's Theresa May, an ardent Remainer, an ardent Remainer. Like, it's so ridiculous that Theresa May was put in charge after this Brexit referendum. Like, she was like such an adamant supporter for the UK to stay in the European Union. Like, it was ridiculous. Like I think it's it's the second link I have in the bottom right, which all of my links, by the way, will be in the they're basically just they're references. All of my references will be underneath the video in the description, hopefully in order, but some might be a bit whatever. But the second one on the screen is basically just her going on a massive speech about how in each way the European Union is just good for the UK and how like they'll be better on. And I've like selected certain things that May has said, and then slapped it on the screen like a true YouTuber does. And it's a sneak peek for line 3 for the next video that I'm probably gonna make if I make a video. May said that leaving the European Union would be fatal for the Union with Scotland. It's just a sneak peek. So Theresa May had a huge issue, and she had this issue like many other people had this issue after Brexit, which is what does Brexit actually mean? Like, I'm not even talking about the Irish border because, my God, I'm going to stay clear of that for now. But like, what does it mean? What does Brexit mean? The European Union is a complex system, and leaving it like leaves a lot of holes. Like, what does it mean? What types of Brexit do we want? Like, in what areas do we want to do certain things? So she sat down and she thought, like everyone else did, and she had great thinking. She thought, what does Brexit mean? In this great yellow box that I've used, I used the color yellow with David Cameron's speech bubble earlier, so I just kept the same horrible yellow. Well, a slogan was like used in the Conservative Party and was basically just used whenever you speak to someone who doesn't really know what Brexit means, and like, or just anything else. And that was, Brexit means Brexit, which, like, it's honestly, it is a good slogan because it just completely like deflects anything, right? If you just like, oh, what do you think this means in terms of Brexit? It's like, Brexit means Brexit, It just derails any real discussion about what particular parts of Brexit could mean, and it hurts. It hurts my head. And in this one, there's this one clip where like she's asked what she thinks Brexit means, and I'll quote it now. What is Brexit? And like, whatever. And she goes, I'm interested in all these terms that have been identified. Like hard Brexit, soft Brexit, black Brexit, white Brexit, grey Brexit. And actually what we should be looking for is a red, white, and blue Brexit. Which, as when the media picked this up and just like was like showed this on TV, they were like, yo, what the hell does this mean? Like, no, like people couldn't agree what Brexit meant. Like, what is it? How far do you go? Where do you stop? Where do you begin? Like, it was just ridiculous. Like, there wasn't anyone that says that there's a national consensus on what Brexit is lying. Like, they're just straight up lying. Like, I have an idea of what Brexit means different to my neighbor. Like, you don't know what Brexit means. There was an issue for me because no matter how she personally interpreted what Brexit meant, when our founding fathers Bojo, Gove, and David Cameron thought of Brexit on their high stool. How can we interpret the words that they said to really mean what Brexit, to really get forward to what Brexit really means? So the issue is that when she says, "This is how Brexit is. These are my deals with the European Union for how we're going to transition with Brexit," other people aren't going to agree with those deals. And on screen now is the government that May inherited when David Cameron resigned. This is the 2015 general election results. Obviously, some of it might change with by-elections or whatever, but this is just the 2015 general election results. As you can see, the Conservatives have a tiny majority in Parliament. A tiny majority in Parliament. This means that if just a tiny amount, just a few Conservative MPs don't agree with May's Brexit deals, she's going to be unable to get anything done. She isn't going to pass anything through Parliament because she can't just, you can't whip every single person in line, no matter how big your whip is, no matter how many whips you have. Like look at this. 331 people. Even if it's, say, 5 people, like 6 people in your party didn't agree on Brexit, like as an absolute minimum, everyone else in your party agreed for Brexit. 6 people though didn't agree on May's Brexit. It's not getting done. Nothing's getting sorted. And not even and that's just being generous. Not everyone in the Conservative Party agreed on Brexit. It was just ridiculous. Like nobody knew what Brexit was, and for anyone to claim that they knew what Brexit was just made everyone else madder. May saying this is Brexit, this is what Brexit is, it's my deal, and people would just be like, no, this is ridiculous. So this means that a greater majority is needed to get a government's deal through. So she called a snap general election to give herself more power in Parliament, and thus push her Brexit deal. This election was specifically for Brexit to gain seats, for the Conservatives to gain seats, and so the Brexit can be sorted out. This was an election for Brexit. Every vote for the Conservatives means we can stick to our plans for a stronger Britain and take the right long-term decisions for a more secure future. Yeah, okay. It was a general election for Brexit. I'll hear people say it wasn't, and I'll just be upset. It was. So how did it go? How did it go? How did the 2017 general election go? It was absolutely omnishambles. It was absolutely ridiculously omnishambles. It was such omnishambles that I can't even put it into words. The Conservatives had become a minority. It did not go the way May intended. They'd form a minority government, and it's just, now they have even less chance of getting anything done. It's just ridiculous. But despite this issue, I'm sure that this headstrong, Oxford-educated, not Eton, Oxford-educated leader will address the nation to speak about how we would go forward. She resigned. She resigned. She resigned. Okay. So who will the Conservative Party push forward to push through the idea of Brexit that nobody can agree on? But I'm sure this next person will make their own Brexit and really, really get it going in this minority government. Who will they put forward to lead this nation through this difficult transition? It's Boris Johnson. It's Boris Johnson. They put forward. Boris Johnson was put in charge as the leader of the Conservative Party. It's Bojo. Bojo is the leader. Let's go. So, my God, the government that Bojo inherited was a minority. This means that even if all of the Conservative MPs agree with his Brexit deal that he put forward, it's giving a bit ahead from the election here, and the resignation, which is 100% unlikely. He's not going to get anything done. Nothing is going to get done. He's not going to get through Brexit. It isn't happening. And even with his minority government working with the DUP in order to get to do some things fast. I scratch, the Conservatives, DUP scratch my back, I scratch their power in Northern Ireland, and I invest a bit more there. The Brexit deal gets a bit more, power for Northern Ireland, whatever. This means that a greater majority is going to be needed to get a government's deal through. So eventually, with nothing else to be done, Boris Johnson called for a general election to give himself more power in Parliament to push his Brexit deal. This election was called specifically for Brexit to gain seats, to get Brexit sorted. I don't even want to hear anything else. And with Boris Johnson's guarantee, we will get, once the general election's over with, at this point, the idea of Brexit has been going on for like 3 years, and Boris Johnson's out here is going, we will get Brexit done in January and release the potential of our country, which, that's a good thing to hear. You like hearing that, don't you? And with Brexit now taking 3 years since it was voted for, obviously it's a long transition, but it's been in the political discourse for the 3 years. Being Brexit is even more of the biggest issue than it was in the 2017 campaign. I'm sure the people will make their decisions clear for who they think, what they think they should do. Should we leave the European Union with Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, or should we maybe reflect on what Brexit really means by looking at other parties' views on what Brexit is, like I don't know, the Labour Party, the party in opposition, really look at what their Brexit deal is, and maybe we should think about this whole Brexit thing as a whole, So and just maybe get rid of it, maybe have another referendum on whether or not we should stop Brexit, but whatever. So in order to talk about the 2019 election, I've got to talk about the most relevant parties in the 2017 election, because it leads up to the 2019 one, and who had seats from the 2017 election and who was representing them in the 2019 general election, right? So I'll be doing this in order of percentage of vote in 2017, and obviously we're talking about parties who got seats, First, we got Bojo himself leading the Conservative Party, obviously. Then we've got the Labour Party, led by Jeremy Corbyn. The Liberal Democrats, led by Joe Swinson. SNP, led by Nicola Sturgeon. Green Party, who made the mistake of being led by two people, so they didn't fit on this graphic that I already started making. So, it's their fault. So there's no face here. The DOP, led by Arlene Foster. Sinn Féin, led by Mary McDonald's. And finally, this lovely man, Adam Price, who is the leader of Plaid Cymru. So there you go. And here are the seat results of 2017, and here is the percentage of their votes they got also. Now, surely just from looking at this information that I've presented to you, you can see some crazy stuff. Like, for example, the SNP only got 3% of the vote overall, but they got 35 seats in Parliament. Then if you look at the Lib Dem votes, they got double that. And but 1/3 of the SNP seats. Hell, you can look at the entire thing and see that it should be highlighted. Like, I should just make it all yellow. Like, look at these things I'm highlighting. Like, the Labour Party got 40% of the vote, but 262% of the seats, and the Conservatives got 42.4% of the vote, but only 318 of the seats. There's 2.4% different in votes, but like over 50 seats. Like, come on, it just doesn't make any sense. This system, it's obviously a very cool and balanced system. Your votes are all definitely very equal. It's not, it's just, my God. Sorry, I just not my bloody mic. I'm not going to edit that out. You'll have to suffer. So those are the Remember 2017. You'll also know of UKIP, United Kingdom Independence Party, one of the parties that helped push for the referendum to happen in the first place. A major Eurosceptic party. Single issue party for leaving the European Union. They got 1.8% of the vote, but 0 seats. That would put them here. But instead of getting, the Green Party only got 1 seat for 1.8% of the vote, whereas the DNP got 0.9, got 10 votes, got 10 seats, but 0.9% of the votes. You know, they got 0 votes, the 0 seats, and like nearly 2% votes. You know, that's what they would stand. So whatever. The question now is, where do these parties stand on Brexit before the 2019 general election? And I'll literally just straight up sort them into a Leave side and a Remain side, right? So like with the Leave party is the people that just straight up want to leave the European Union. You know, they want out. They want out. It's terrible system. Blah blah blah. Whatever reasons they think. You know, there are like reasons like for example, what is it? Is it the Workers' Revolutionary Party? They're like the EU is like a capitalist system, and therefore we need to leave. It's either the Workers' Revolutionary Party or it's like the SDP. It's one of those two. Hilarious to read. I love it. I love reading reasons like that. Like different reasons for doing that kind of stuff. I love it. Whatever. Okay, that was too big of a tangent to keep going. So the Remain side will be made up of people who either want a second referendum on whether or not we should between like just straight up think we should just stay. We should just stay. You know, we should just stay in the European Union. That's it. That's the end of it. Or people that think that like we should have a referendum on between like a potential Brexit deal, like what they think Brexit should be, and just staying. They should have another referendum for that. So obviously we've got Boris Johnson, and the Conservative side with himself saying, you know, we should get Brexit done. And next we have like the Labour Party and the Remain side, with their plan if they win to renegotiate a Brexit deal and put forward their own Brexit deal, and then putting it to a national referendum on said deal and between said deal and just remaining. You know, should we leave with this deal or should we remain? Like, what do you think should be like the people? Next, we have the Liberal Democrats who support another referendum, but like with their preference to remain. Like they don't care about another deal really. They just want to remain. They're Remainers, you know. But it's basically the same as Labour. Nicola Sturgeon with the SNP. In Nicola Sturgeon's own words, the SNP was Scotland's Remain party because, you know, screw Labour in Scotland. The DOP are pro-union first and then sort of like pro-Brexit later. So like as long as Northern Ireland gets like benefits from Brexit, that's fine. You know, they were already supporting Boris's Brexit deal before, as long as their back was getting scratched some more. But they do want Boris's deal to change. Okay, so even though I was talking about 2017 parties that got seats, I'm obviously going to talk about UKIP. But UKIP, so if you don't know who this man is, this fellow here, this little fellow of a man is called Nigel Farage, and due to reasons, he left the single issue Leave the EU party to set up his own single issue Leave the EU party, and very ingeniously named it the Brexit Party with this excellent logo too, of course. And they pulled the UKIP with him. And the UKIP party in 2017, they pulled 2% of the vote. So to say that the Brexit party wouldn't be a force to be reckoned with, and that would be just be done when, you know, whatever. They'll pull votes. So they're allowed in the club. They're allowed in this little party club we've got going on. Obviously on the Leave side. And so the Green Party, who just believe that the UK being in the European Union is good for the environment. There we go. Let's have Sinn Féin. So whilst traditionally Sinn Féin are Eurosceptic, their main goal is just for Irish reunification, and with the Republic of Ireland is in the European Union. I suppose they would support whatever outcome would lead them. They would just report whatever outcome leads to them having fast unification, right? But like they don't vote in Parliament anyway, so like, I'm not putting them on the list. They don't vote in Parliament. I'm ignoring them. Like not in the English man ignores, you know, Irish activists way of ignoring them. I'm ignoring them for this chart. You know, they don't vote in Parliament. I'm ignoring them. And last, but by no means least, is Mr. Adam Price, implied, who won a second referendum on Brexit, and they most preferably they want to remain. With that second referendum, they want to remain. So the question is, how did this election, the second election, might I add, based on how the UK should handle Brexit go? So when it's like this, then it just went like this. It went like this, didn't it? Like Conservative majority. This is how the seats look for Parliament. The blue do be big. The blue do be big. Look at that. The Conservatives have 56% of the seats. Labour 31, SB 7, and so on and so forth. Tiny parties next. Pretty decisive stuff. Pretty decisive stuff. This will enable Boris Johnson to get Brexit done. As he said, this was what the purpose of the general election was for, and it looks like it's going to pay off. 56% of the seats gives him a lot of leeway, a lot of disagreement within the Conservative Party for him to get Brexit done. This is how the votes looked. As you may be able to tell, it looks a bit different to the pie chart before. The Conservatives got 43.6% of the vote. Labour got 32. Lib Dems 11.5, which it's a squid to see on the other chart. SNP 3.9 and whatever, so on and so forth. This wouldn't be a decisive amount of the country that thinks that we should have gone forward with Brexit, or should have gone looking at Brexit. Maybe the majority could be thinks that we should have gone through Brexit, but we should have gone through it with looking through different eyelid or whatever. What the hell is a phrase? I don't even know what the phrase is. My God, looking through a different glass. My God, whatever. It doesn't matter. What if they wanted to change the Brexit deal, change what Brexit means, because nobody can really nobody can say what Brexit means. But here are them side by side, as you can see, completely ridiculous. Just completely non-proportional. Like look at Lib Dems. Obviously, the Lib Dems always get shafted, which makes me sound like a Lib Dem moaning, but they do. They do always get shafted. But whatever. Apart from in 2010, where they miraculously. I'm tangenting. Just looking at it makes you see the first past the post. So this, just look at it. 56.1% of the seats. They have 56.1% of the seats with less than 50% of the vote. It baffles me. It just baffles me. So let's look a bit more into depth the people's vote. So I'm just gonna order the parties quickly by their name, how many votes they got in 2019, and basically their stance on Brexit, what they thought of Brexit, what they think they should do. And here they are. I'm really, really sorry if this is overwhelming. This information dump is overwhelming, but I've shown you pie charts. So if you've made it this far through, you must be okay. I'll go over the pies that I haven't talked about, stances yet. We've got the SDLP, which is for Remain, the Alliance Party for Remain, the Ulster Unionists leave, Yorkshire Party leave, Liberal Party leave, Change Party, Change UK or Change Party UK, Remain. And then if there's the Ein2 party, Ein2. God, I'm just an Englishman. Irish people, please forgive me. For God's sake, I can't say it. I'm just a dumb Englishman. Please, for God's sake, I'm sorry. They just want Irish unification done. But they're kind of they like being they want to be in the European Union when they're with Ireland. So they're basically Remain party. But I didn't, whatever. You've got the Monster Raven Looney Party, which is just a meme party. We've got the Christian People's Alliance, which is for Leave, the Social Democratic Party, which is Leave, the Amawefab Party, which is for Remain, the English Democrats, which is for Leave, not surprisingly, the Libertarians, who are for Leave, the Workers' Revolution Party, which is for Leave, and finally, Advance Together, which is for Remain. So if you tally those votes up and calculate them, the Leave side gets 15, just a tad. Over 50 million votes. That's quite a lot of votes. 50 million votes, quite a lot. If you tally up the Remain side, you get 16.5 million votes. It's 1.5 million difference for the people in the UK voting whether or not they would want to Remain or Leave. They give their vote to the political party that they believe will represent them in Parliament, and they say, hey, I want to leave. I want a party that wants to leave. Or they say, hey, I want a party that remains. This is the vote of 2019. So instead of a country having a chance to curve, just curve Brexit in the way that you want it, bend it, shape it how you want it, or just even if you want to stop Brexit altogether, first past the post has just screwed them. It's just screwed them. all they can do now is just like, take Bojo's deal as he gives it to you. He slaps it on the table, and it just makes me so upset. Under a more proportionate system, the country would have actually maybe have been able to have a second look at Brexit and decide if they want to stop it, or decide if with this deal, wow, this would be a lot more beneficial to the country. We should do this deal or whatever. But no, but no. And remember that was 2019. There was. Please remember that in 2017 there was also a Brexit election to help get Brexit sorted. And just on the screen there, that's the amount of seats that Leave parties got, and that's the amount of seats that Remain parties got. A difference of 100 seats. 100 seats for 1.5 million less votes. Kind of ridiculous. Don't forget that this is just 2019. Remember, 2017 still happened. This was the Leave vote for 2017, and this was the Remain vote. A difference. It's just even bigger. It was even bigger back then, which is why it came to a minority government, I imagine, because the votes were so split in constituencies or whatever the hell. First past vote sucks. Just whatever. The people of the UK proportionally voted more so with parties with policies to remain in the European Union or to get a second say on leaving the European Union. How that party will see change the view on how they will leave the European Union twice. And if a staunch leaver hears a Ramona say that they want a referendum, you'll say, oh, well, then how many referendums do we want to have until we get the correct referendum? Listen, if you ever hear someone say that, just say the Conservative Party pulled 2 general elections in order to get a majority so they could pass a Brexit deal that they want. Come on. God. It's just ridiculous. Twice this has happened. People have more so voted to remain. A country just relies on a broken political system that ridiculously shuns and disenfranchises most of the population. And this the feeling of hopelessness in a constituency, and not being heard, it would just lead to the rise of separatist groups in the lightest term, like the SNP, in Great Britain, and it will split not even the United Kingdom, because I'm not getting into Northern Ireland. I'm not doing it. Just Great Britain, just Wales, England, and Scotland alone. It will split us up into 3 different pieces. It will happen. This will happen. Yes. The movement for Yes Wales, which is poses the question of should Wales be independent? Yes. The members grew in the past 2 weeks from making this video, from less than 1,000 to 11,000. People are pissed at how their vote doesn't mean anything. But I'm not getting into regions of the UK, because that's for a next video. I'll go in. That's talking about for the next video. Please, I hope I've just made you even think about how first past the post sucks, and how it just isn't. It isn't doing its job. It's not doing what it needs to for democracy in this age. People already don't believe in the political system. First past the post kicks them whilst they're down. It just tells them, if you're in a safe seat, your vote doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't mean anything. You're not going to be represented. But whatever. This video's gone on for far too long. Whatever. I'm done. I'm done here. I wash my hands with this shit. Nothing I say will make a difference. The electoral system needs to change. Honestly, just thank you so much for watching this. If you've watched this shitty... God, I hate... Oh, I swore at the very end. If you've watched this terrible ranty video where I sound like an idiot and just have no editing pretty much whatsoever, I really appreciate it. I really, 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 really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching this video. And no matter your view on Brexit, just stay safe out there. Stay safe out there. Just please stay safe. COVID is terrible. try not to catch it. It's not a hoax or conspiracy theory. Just whatever. Just thank you and stay safe.